Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I want to give you the understanding of what's been happening to me. Yes, I have been persecuted, and yes, I am being persecuted. But when I said shaitan, I didn't mean, in my video, I didn't mean shaitan as in Iblis himself. That's another story, if anything. I won't even talk about that. But my main prerogative is just wanted to clarify that my last video talking about persecution was just about the followers of shaitan, those who behave in shaitaniyat. And the understanding of that is those who pursue the attributes of shaitan. What are the attributes of shaitan? Those who are in the state of being proud, following their way, not the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being in the state of righteousness, God consciousness, whereas being in the way of opposing to that is basically when you're opposing to that, you're in the state of wickedness, transgression, following your own ways, your own mind state, or following the others, or anything else that's in the place of God, which stands for idolatry. So you're either or. And if you're not a person who is always in the state of God consciousness, with every action, every single thing that you're doing, everything that you're doing, everything. And if you're not just doing it, you just gotta do it. You just have to gain the act of God consciousness. Because if you don't try, you just gotta die trying. You just gotta die trying. Yeah, that's why the salah is there constantly to stay in prayer. Because even if you're making small faults, don't make any small faults. Don't. It is avoidable. And God forbid, one does occur, a small fault occurs, then you have the opportunity in the next salah or even before that to constantly keep seeking for forgiveness and thinking about the return. The more you keep thinking about it, the more you keep thinking about it constantly, at least your mindset is okay. Like, at least you'll have a sound mind in any condition that you're in, knowing that you have the ability to seek to God, no matter how much they persecute you, no matter how much they instill that type of a situation on you, that you still have God to take you out of that quicksand, because you don't know where it's going to come from. You don't know where the help is going to come from. Just when you're drowning and you seek to God, you're thinking it might come as a astaghfirullah, humans think that God is going to come, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might send you a helicopter, rescue boat, a sailboat, a cruise ship, I don't know, all sorts of things, right? But would you expect it in the most unexpected form? That he sends you a dolphin? Or a whale? Would you expect that? That's something different, right? And if he sends you a dolphin to take you out from the situation you're in, God is saving you through the dolphin to take you out, to bring you back to shores, or however that's it. I think that there are miracle stories in the world like that, if I can recall. You wouldn't have expected that, right? You would have thought it would have come from a human being, if anything, right? You know, to come with a lifeboat, or that, funny if so, that there's a tire floating around in the middle of an ocean, you know, or like a little board, you know, in the middle of an ocean. You don't know what God is going to send your way. That's the thing. You don't know what God is going to send your way to pull you out of the distress, you know, that you're in. Sometimes God even sends you the most unbelievable of help. And it's Him that's helping you. But He's doing it through something, and you would be like, you know, even if it's for a moment's time, you know, you'd be like, wow, did I just really get sent a private jet to take me out of here? You know what I mean? Astaghfirullah. So, you know, and it's just for a moment's time. It might just be, you know, this might be a transition. Like, okay, you can, like, for example, if that person is drowning and stuff like that, right? It could just be that the king was passing by, and then the king and the king had his people pick up the person who was drowning, and then took them, invited them over to his palace. Just saying, right? Just, you know, the king invited the person over to the palace and stuff like that, but, you know, just gave them. And not only that, but then the king had like CIA servicemen, I'm just saying, and then pulled out the whole entire history. A to Z, nothing missing from their own parts. That was the king that wanted to do that. The king wanted to go ahead and pull out the whole entire history of the person that, you know, threw that human being off the boat so that they could drown and stuff. And the king, as a service people, the CIA, or like, you know, two different departments or something like that, or that sort, and goes ahead and on their behalf wanted to go ahead and just find out, oh my goodness, A to Z about that person. I was like, King was now like, okay, let's round them up. Let's get that person, you know, because they have every single thing on that person that went to go ahead and drown them, threw them off the boat, right? And the person knows that if they let those goons that threw the person off the boat in the first place to drown, if he lets them go, and if they find out that that person made it back to shore and is alive, they're gonna go back to try and kill that person again, or take them out, or do things forever, until that person dies, you know, bring them back to shore this time, and then chain them up, and then drown them in the shore. But now even though the king found that person that was drowning and had this, the king had the knights in armor in every department that he has working for the king to go ahead and find those goons that threw them off the boat and persecute them in the same and worse manner maybe. But that person that fell off that boat because it was a setup, and those goons threw them off that boat and threw that individual into the water so that person can die. But God had sent the king to save that person, right? God had sent the king to save that person. Well, maybe if that person had the same type of attributes as those goons, he would have done the same thing to them and taken them out quicker, because the king found that person and had the ability to do so after having every single thing in their capacity. So maybe that person that was thrown into the ocean was like Yusuf, who didn't know why Yusuf was being persecuted and murdered by his brothers. Maybe he just truly loves them all. Maybe he truly loved them all, and maybe he never meant any harm. He was just chosen to be somebody that God wanted near, or God wanted to teach. And Yusuf didn't understand why at the time, didn't know what was going on, but loved his brothers and didn't want anything to happen to them. What did Yusuf do? Yusuf went on in Yusuf's journey, and he just followed the path that God had planned out for Yusuf. And then one day, Yusuf brought his whole entire family to the kingdom, and they lived happily ever after. Many, many decades later, and may Yusuf and Islam's family be in Jannah, inshallah, or in the kingdom of the Creator of the heavens and the earth, in this life and in the life and the hereafter, removed from any smaller faults or any impurities that remain in those family members that were trying to hurt Yusuf in the first place. Inshallah, that they be forgiven and that they get to all live together happily. Allahu Alam. I could just make dua. Because Yusuf loved his brothers even though they wanted to kill him. Allahu Alam. You see, there's another way to understand how Allah works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dhul Kifl the permission to do something good for that nation, or to destroy them or bring the wrath or punishment upon them. He was able to do either. He was given authority to do as he willed. This was inspired to me this morning. But what did he choose to do? He chose to do good. He chose to do good. Yusuf chose to do good. No matter even if they were trying to kill him, and they did try to kill him. He was put through the fire, but he didn't die. He was put through the fire too, but he didn't die. Only Allah knows Yusuf's pain. Only Allah knows Yusuf's pain. Allah subhanallah. But that's the example of Yusuf sallallahu that he chose to do good. And the other example is Dhul Qarnayn. He had authority, could have done whatever he wanted. But what did he do? He chose to build something. He commanded to build something so that good can happen to these people. This is the Quran. I received something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was in regards to good deeds. I received something in an open vision in regards to the universe. And it was so unbelievable. So unbelievable how this is something I was exposed to earlier, but these three things that I received were from God. And then it was later explained to me. Like after I received them, I was given the understanding, that explanation of what it meant. And then I was like, wow. Wow. And I could confirm them with the books too. With the visions that I had received, I can confirm them with the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ultimately, who is Shaitan? What are his attributes? His attributes are absolutely everything opposing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ihtidad, stay in the middle way. Not too less, not too much. There's a woman that has been a life lesson to me. There are two. One whom is someone who likes to keep all the money, never want to spend anything even if they needed to. That's the extreme opposite to, extreme opposite to Ihtidad. They want to go ahead and save everything, not even spend anything when they need to. Then the other example of the woman is They will spend everything, and I mean everything. It won't have anything at all, when they will need it. So two polar examples of two women I had come across in my life. And one would, it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't put your pockets in your hands. Like, okay, oh, I don't have nothing, And then for the other one, it's like, don't empty out your whole entire pocket. Sit here, take everything. You have to come in between of ihtidad, in the middle way. And how do you understand what is the middle way? Not knowing what you need to do, not following up with what you need is the other side, which falls underneath greed and greed and just not knowing, not knowing what to do with it. Even when you have it, not knowing what to do with it is still being greedy, because you're supposed to give with what you have too. There's portions of where you're going to have to give from even your own portion. When Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had the spoils of war, Allah commanded that whatever gifts that they had taken back as bounty, that even that has to be dispersed, has to be dispersed in fractions of wherever it had needed to have been gone to. Right. So, and in that example, not knowing even the money that you have, where it needs to go to, and holding it back on that's unfortunately not the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. On the other hand, splurging is also not the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not knowing what you need and rather going for what you want. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, to go and get what we need, rather than truly what we want. Because when we start to go for the things that we want, it becomes useless, in vain. Might even be more harmful than anything, because it can start to become a form of vanity, adoration. So how do you know what you really need? Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is okay. Now, how do you understand what is the middle way? Middle way is to identify what you need. That's the middle way. It doesn't mean you can't treat yourself once in a blue moon, but it means one thing which is so important. You need to identify what you need, and you also need to do what Yusuf was shown to do, which is a key to life. 7 years of working hard is 7 years, of that, making sure that those 7 years you work hard, for the next 7 years you save, and then that's good for your next 7 years. So pretty much, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving that example to us, He's just giving an example to us to understand how life works. That for the first half of your life, you work and you save. For the other half of your life, you use those savings, for your bad times, or when you get old, things of that sort. When bad times come, So that's an example, and it's not only an example for half of your life, but also to have savings in general. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed me animals in one of my open-end visions before. If I ended up in the wilderness, out, out in California, by Revelation Way, in the bowl. Before I ended up there, when I was still living with my spouse at that time, I saw a dream where I was shown an ant who was picking up a leaf and taking it away to save it for winter. I saw a squirrel picking up a walnut and preparing to save it for the winter. So I think I saw another animal, but I don't remember, but I saw 3 different animals, implying that, they're prepared to work hard now to also save for later, save for bad times, or times that will get rough. So, they're enjoying probably the nice weather, but they also know when the other type of weather is going to come around, that they need to have food stored and food stocked, stuff like that. Or things that they're going to need to stock up on when bad times come. Now, it's so insane how, as I was telling you the story earlier, God has made me so humble. And I'm glad, because if I wasn't humble, I would be stuck in my adoration. But I should have kept my guard up. Sometimes the most important thing that you need to learn is every single person out there, if they cannot sit and listen quietly or respond in a positive manner, like a very joyful manner, very happy manner, and you can't feel it in their spirit, you can't feel that goodness from their spirit for you. And you'll know. Then majority of everybody that's around you, if something good happens to you, they don't like it. It says it in the Quran too, interestingly enough. And if something bad happens to you, they rejoice about it, or they want to talk about it, or all of these things, it becomes a place of gossip for them. You'll be lucky if you have one person other than God as a human being to share your things with that would want to be happy for you, and not only happy for you, but like truly joyful for you, without wanting to steal, lie, destroy, deviate. Without wanting that to happen to you. And this is how you notice how or who that person would be. That person has to be greater than you in your personality. That's how you identify it. So for Yusuf al-Islam, that would have been Yaqub al-Islam, his father. sometimes these people come in different relations to you. For me, a person that was greater to me, surprisingly, was nobody amongst my family or, you know, um, I would have thought, that would have been my spouse because of some of the deeds that he does that, are like, and compared to everybody that I know, just the deeds that he does that he always tries, but there's always a back fall to it. And the back fall to it is how after doing a deed, he'd immediately fall prone to his anger or fall prone to his pride or fall prone to his greed, and it could be anything, right? That's opposing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in attributes when you have greed, anger, or when you have, something that's not of God. God doesn't want you to be angry. And the same applies for me, okay? God doesn't want you to be angry. God doesn't want you to give something and to take it back. God doesn't want you to do anything other than for the sake of God. And not even truly even remembering it, just doing it and leaving it up to God so it can go into His accounts. Not into our own individual accounts, but letting them keep the account of the goodness that you do. And to me, is each person's sins are with God and with, of course, their record keepers. And of course, and those who witness it. But for me, that person in my life of trying to do good deeds was my spouse. But he fell in one place. And that was those things that I mentioned, plus not having patience. Number one, not having patience. And number two, wanting it back. Number three, probably destroying it. Number four, everything that's not of God. Surprisingly, someone beat him to it. Surprisingly, someone beat him to being someone that I talked to. And it's a female who God has been using so far to do His blessings upon me. And alhamdulillah, because that person has a pure heart. Oh my goodness, I never knew the extent of that person's pure heart, because when that person does something, the person doesn't even mention it, that they did it, number one. Number two, even if something bad happens to that person, Allahu Akbar, the person forgave. The person forgave. Doesn't have no vengeance. Doesn't have no vengeance. Doesn't remember it. But that's the example of when God says that whatever deed you do, of course it's in our books, but when He says, when we turn to Him, He forgives us, He erases our bad deeds, and He replaces them with good deeds. That's how human beings should be. When bad things were done, if somebody turned to you and sought forgiveness from you, those bad deeds that were done upon you should have been forgiven, and it should have been replaced with good thoughts and good deeds for you, not vengeance. Because you know what? That person, that's the example of how a person of God should be. Because I witnessed something. I witnessed that person losing $10,000, and God forbid, the person who, it's just telling you a reality, but just telling you in an example of a narration. The person that may have stole from that person was more of a religious looking character, may have, just saying, Allahu Alam, may not be the story, but the amount was, there. And that person who appeared to be religious took that money. Supposedly, he took that money. And upon taking that money, even though they appeared to be religious and everything, like Maulvi type, supposedly, the other person who wasn't religious at all, like that, I mean, in terms of probably appearance and stuff, right? Not religious in the appearance that the money was stolen from. That person went ahead and said to that person very kindly and said, if this is the case, then I please, if you could return it, in very loving manner. Like, I don't even have a word to describe as I witnessed the testimony of it. But when the person responded with, no, I should have, I didn't, I never did, but, of course, whatever happened, happened, right? And the money did go missing. And that person, the one that wasn't religious but had a pious heart, responded in the most pious and beautiful manner and said, in the most softest of tones, said, you know what, I'm just going to leave it up to God. And said a whole bunch of, like, not a whole bunch, like, very shortly, 2-3 things, and just as if that $10,000 didn't even mean anything. It didn't even mean anything to them. Didn't even mean anything to them. No. And that's the understanding I was being given today. I got lucky today to be where I am right now. I needed to come in just to purify myself, so God was good with that. Just for a day, just Man, you really can't live life without water. And it's hard. But in general, just saying. So, going back to that, so it's just your outer appearance might be religious, but it doesn't mean that the inside of yours has purity in it. Your spirit is pure. And it could also verily be that the external is not good, but the internal is pure. Your spirit is pure. If your spirit is pure from the inside, it will also change the external. But if your external is good from the outside and your internal is rotten from the inside, you know, there's, it's like eating, you can eat a fruit if it's just dark on the outside, but it's good from the inside. You could peel it off, but you cannot eat a fruit if it looks good on the outside, but the inside is rotten, So, and that's how that goes. But I want to give to you something about what I was given about food today from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was just given so much that I don't know where to start, and a lot of the times I okay. Where is it? Where did I posted it somewhere, if anything. Okay. Alright. Actually, matter of fact, it's talking about, I wanted to talk about, since we're talking about fruits and good on the outside, good on the inside, and stuff like that. Okay. I'm going to connect it to this one, and that's going to be wrapping up this segment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the mention of heavenly food from Jannah that was given to, the people. It was called manna and quail. So, in the Islamic perspective, people don't know, majority of the people, they said they don't know what this manna and quail is. They don't know what this manna and quail is. So, I challenge you right now, okay, just astaghfirullah, the Quran alone, unless you're going to go into the Arabic, we can look into it together. Maybe I can find it later and update you. Nobody understands who or what or where, when, how. There's a lot of aspects to it. That manna and quail is not really detailed in the Quran, but God says it's explained fully in detail, right? So now where can we find this answer in what was manna and quail? Okay, the answer is look to the scriptures before. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it in several different places in the Quran, about the scriptures before. Look to the scriptures before. So now, unbelievable how I was inspired to come across these verses in the Injil about manna and quail. Wow. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took me from the Quran and then took me to the Injil and took me not to an understanding of my own, but to an understanding from Him, where manna is a food that used to come down with the dew in the morning, okay, like in the morning dew, from there it would fall down, and then people would make, like it's like a type of a flour, and people would make bread out of it, or you know, things of that sort. I mean, there's more that I can talk about. Okay, so that's what they were eating. That's what they were being sent down from Jannah. They were being sent from heaven. They were being sent, you know, these little seeds that they're these little seeds that they would be able to make or plant, and then they would come out as flour. Like you can make flour with it. Sorry, like there's like little seeds that you'd be able to grind it up, and then you can make flour with. That was manna. Okay, so what was quail? Okay, now this has come from the story of Musa al-Islam's time. Okay, so these people are now getting bored of eating this. Okay, they're getting bored of eating this. You know, mind you, these people came from Egypt, right? So these people came from Egypt, and you know, they're like telling God, "Oh, astaghfirullah." Well, this is a version of it in the Injil. So they're saying, "Oh, you know, when we were in Egypt, they're getting fed up because they couldn't have meat. That's really what was going on with them. They couldn't have meat, you know. They would have like meat every day. So these people were complaining about the fact they didn't have meat. They said, oh, you know, we used to have lentils, we used to have onions, we used to have garlic, we used to have this. But then, you know, they're like, we want meat, God, you know. Like, not only were they saying they want meat, but they're like, they're getting so frustrated, God forbid them, that they said, oh, you know, we wish we'd have just been in Egypt. That's what they said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That's what they said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, then what happens? So, now this story is in the Quran, so you know, this story is about when, you know, the people were asking Musa alayhi salam, you know, for something that they wanted. But what were they asking for? Because in the translation, it's not there. In the Arabic, I'm pretty sure you'll find the understanding of meat, because I had this understanding given to me a very long time ago when I was reading the Quran. Now I understand where it was coming from. It was coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because even though I didn't look into it in the Arabic, that's already the understanding that I had perceived. That what were they looking for when they went into the town? They were looking for meat. And then also now, the Injil backs that up with, you know, the fact that they were asking for meat. And then they go ahead and say, oh, we wish we would have just never came out of Egypt. So you are complaining unto God after God saved you and delivered you from Egypt for meat in the manner that you were asking it in? You're just like throwing it back in God instead of asking God in a humble manner, maybe even, but just throwing it back in God. You know, like, oh, we wish we would have just stayed in Egypt. After he saved you, you want to go back to Pharaoh and the idolaters and the slavery and the punishment and the, you know, so I'm sorry, this is way off topic. It's like meat became, you know, an idol. I'm just saying. Instead of God's blessings. Astaghfirullah. Which makes you certainly want to also sometimes understand, like, you were delivered from something and then you go right back into the bad. You know, that's for me. That's not for my spouse. You know, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahman Rahim and He knows best. But sometimes you get removed from things because, you know, things are better for you. So you can be saved. You can be saved. And sometimes you get removed away from something so you can also repent. You can do your repentance. So maybe for my spouse, he's going through his repentance and he's receiving his piece of heaven right now. And maybe I'm receiving what I think to be, astaghfirullah, Jahannam. But maybe it truly is Jannah, because God, that's what He does. And even in it, there is a goodness in it that we may not understand. So we have to say Alhamdulillah for everything that we go through. And we have to appreciate God. Because verily, it may have been worse. And it could have been a lot worse. But, Allahu Alam, Subhanallah. One thing I truly, truly wish, I swear to you when I see this, my spouse was such a smart man. Smart, as in he could have been a good smart. It became a cunning smart, and that's not good. Had this man spend time reading with me the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with me, he could have saved himself, and he could have saved our marriage. And he could have saved me too. No one saves except Allah, but He does send saviors, people or things that He wants to use into our lives to save us. For example, like the Anbiyas, they are a savior. God uses them as a tool to send the prophets and messengers, to give them that warning. But what does a warning do? Warning saves, right? Just giving you the time to get out from being destroyed. But of course, that all praise belongs to God, because He's the one that sent you that warning. So I truly, my heart is just torn that I asked Him 5 minutes a day, even spend 5 minutes a day with me, to read with me 5 minutes a day. And He couldn't give me 5 minutes a day. Give Allah 25 minutes a day. Give me 5 minutes a day. Because even if me and him were studying the word of Allah, maybe that would have been the sweetness to His ears, for us to have learned together how to be with each other, how to do good in this life, how to protect ourselves,